Alrighty, folks. I kind of got good news and bad news. I don't know how you want to look at it, but we are 5 days away from 2024. We are going to have the coaching advice in a session with a top 1% agent about three things you should do before the end of the year. And we'll have a bonus one for a business owner. Alrighty, Beth, what do you got? End of the year is 5 days away, and you're telling me there are
The
three things that I should
countdown,
do?
final countdown, 2023, wrapping it up. Few things we can do this week. Well, we're just kind of in that kind of lull week between Christmas and New Year's. I know I'm working on wrapping things up for the end of the year, and I was thinking it might be a good opportunity to chat about what some people may want to think about. Especially when a lot of people aren't really doing much of anything this week. This is a time where you can grasp these last few days to get out there and get a few things done to move you forward with your goals before the end of the year. Yeah. So the first one I was thinking of was take a look right now for any sleeper listings out there that might be lingering, because I don't think they're going to last very long.
No.
Or if anybody's listing this week, this is in my opinion, the slowest week of the year to list.
No question.
So a lot of people, including a lot of agents, are out of town right now taking the week off. And if you can swoop in, if somebody is listing this week, only if it's a good or great deal, of course, right? That has to be, always the top filter. But this is the time. You might find there are a few listings that are easy to just kind of like, it gets so you almost don't see them after a while. These ones that were overpriced or something's wrong with them and you just skip past them, skip. This might be the week to go back through that one last time at least and look and see, are any of these viable or could they be made viable in some way? And this might be the week to put an offer in on one of those, because I do believe with interest rates and everything else that's been going on that it's gonna pop after New Year's. It always does in our market in the greater Seattle area. That's always been the norm, but I'm thinking it's going to be more widespread and a little more emphasized this year, just with the extreme swing of interest rates that we just had.
I got to tell you, your step one of this advice is awesome. This is your last week, folks. Between Christmas and New Year's every year, I would put in a very disrespectful offer, because there are some sellers, especially to your point, if they've been lingering, they just want this chapter behind them.
Yeah.
And yes, we both know it won't close in the next 7 days, but to them, it'll be behind them. It'll be open escrow.
That psychological weight that a lot of people carry around is a real thing. And if you're able to alleviate that, that's a win for them and a win for you potentially as buyer. So don't take anything for granted, just don't, I want to say is don't disregard potential deals out there. This could be the time. And I was looking today and there's not a lot, very little inventory, my goodness, but what's out there, there are a few 90-day, 100-day ones. Maybe they were way off the mark on the price. Time for that disrespectful offer. If it's hanging around that long and not sold, then something's up. And often it has to do with the price. It's almost always the price, but sometimes it's the way it's presented too. They didn't do the work to present it. And those are actually the best opportunities where you can find that diamond in the rough, that gem out there. So that's my first piece of advice. Second one would be check with your mortgage broker if you haven't done that lately and see what you can qualify for, because your numbers may be changing.
Very different.
Yeah. And this is the news I've been waiting for, right? Because before it was like, you better check because they're 8 and now, and they were 7 and that's going to affect what you can purchase. It's changed again. And you've got great ones that come on this show every week. Check with them, check with whoever you have your trusted relationship with. Go with somebody who really knows their stuff, not one of those online faceless machines. Like, just don't do that. It won't work out for your best interest. But somebody who's really savvy that can help you run the numbers specific to your situation so that you're locked and loaded, ready to go, and you are educated as a buyer as what your payment's going to be now, because it's different than it would have been 2 months ago.
Yeah, it is wild to think about. There's, the demand that's just going to pop in January, to steal your word.
Yeah.
It's going to be wild, Beth. It's going to be wild. So get prepared, folks. Be ready.
eagerly anticipating. I don't know. As an agent, it's interesting, because I love when things are busy and challenged. It's hard to predict because in 2022 it was off the charts. 2021 off the charts. 2023 what? They're totally different. Whiplash. And now it's like, what is this going to be? We're not going back to 2022 or 2021.
I hope not.
Do not believe that in any way, shape, or form.
Where's the inventory going to come from?
That's the question. It's still not there. So you're going to have to be, as a buyer, really on your toes. As a seller too, just to know how to navigate this. But again, like this is why this week is a good time, because a lot of people are just checked out. So if you're ready to take action while others are checked out, that's where opportunities can lie. Or even if there's a weather event or something. I think I may have mentioned before about one of my best deals I got because it was a failed sale, came back on the market, and it was a snowstorm and nobody could get there.
Yep.
And we put the chains on the truck and went over there. And we don't get that much snow here in the Northwest. It's contrary to what a lot of people might believe. Like, it's not that much, but this was up in the mountain town about an hour away that we happened to be one of my buy box areas. And so I saw this thing. I was like, oh, it checks all the boxes. And it's
we are going, honey. Put the chains on.
They need us, and we worked out one of our best, most creative deal structures. It was just, I just love that deal. But that was because we got out there and before anybody else could get in there and got that offer accepted. And that seller was thrilled to get that place off the books because she had been trying for a while and had 2 failed sales. You can be the knight in shining armor, folks, to go out there and help these people and get a great deal for yourself too. But I don't know, without that inventory coming, if we get a flood of buyers, and it's not going to be, a relative flood of buyers.
You just need a little change. It's the net.
I know we've already had very, very little inventory, like we've been talking about forever. But if you had to say 20% more buyers in there, which we could easily have 20% more buyers going from 8 to 6s, easy.
Yeah.
And the buyers that I'm talking with lately these days, they've adjusted to the higher interest rates long ago. They're not. It's not even it's a distant.
This is what people don't get. You know when 6.5% mortgage rate feels great? Yeah. When recent memory is 8. Yeah.
And it's amazing how fast people can make those shifts. It's a fast, the people's attention span at large it goes to very much to the most recent thing, and recency bias or whatever you call that term. But basically people are going to look at what happened most recently, and that's what they latch on to. And so the 3% was awesome, but that was so long ago. It probably wasn't even these buyers looking at that time.
No, they don't know that. They're not remembering that. Yeah.
Yeah. The people that are still going to be locked, that are still stuck, so to speak, are the ones that would be the move up buyer seller.
Correct.
That are still debating it. But as time goes on and their situation gets more uncomfortable, that tension may start to shift a little bit. I don't think we're there yet.
No,
for most people.
No, not yet.
But enough time goes on, and a lot of the folks that I'm talking with are people that are moving out of state for job or family or retirement. Those are the 3 things. So, and they don't wish to keep their house as a rental. They want that equity for their next stage in life. Yeah. So that's who's selling right now. Not the people who want to stay local very much, who just want an extra bedroom, and still not seeing a lot of that. And I don't know, the rates in the 6s isn't going to get it there.
Nope. Not yet. Not yet. Time, years, or much lower rates will get them there. But certainly not in early 2024. You've had 2 amazing ones already. What's the number 3 one?
Third one, I say take inventory of your goals. If you haven't already written them down, like, this is the time, please put something, write it out on paper. It needs to be written. It needs to be realistic, achievable, measurable, whatever that may be. And then break it down into bite-sized chunks. And we could do a whole, series on this, but we're not doing that. But just write down what your goals are before the end of the year so you can hit the ground running now. Break it down into bite-sized steps, because it's real easy to say, I want to buy 5 rental properties next year. Or even like 1 rental property. I want to buy 1 rental property next year. Okay, let's break that down into the most simple, minuscule little chunks of what you need to do that. Or for myself as a real estate agent, you know, I worked on my business plan with my coach a while ago, and we break it down from the big picture all the way down to the, what do I need to be doing today? And it comes down to X number of appointments per day, per week. Because in my business, it's all about appointments, how many people you meet to talk about buying or selling real estate. And the rest just comes from there. If you got your appointments in line, like that tracking measure will take care of everything else. So whatever your goals are for your specific situation, break it down into those bite-sized weekly, daily chunks.
I love that.
Otherwise, it's very, very hard to hit a target if it's not defined.
Yeah, no. One of the things you learn very quickly being a commission-based sales rep and or sales leader is it is all a pipeline, a process and framework. It is the activities that start at the front of the funnel that feed the deals. Lots of people want to look at the scoreboard, but it's all the work ahead of it that kind of feeds that. So
it's also a good time to take a look and reflect at what worked this year and what didn't work this year. Do more of what worked, drop what didn't. And know also that it's always changing too. You know, what worked for me in previous years shifted over. You know, there were things that were major pillars of my business that changed and then had, you know, now are no longer part of my business, and I've replaced it with other lead sources and other things like that, other ways of generating business. So there's been it's constantly in flux. And so look at what worked, what didn't, what was profitable, what wasn't, what got you closer to your goal, what hindered you. Take a little time to reflect on that. It doesn't even take that much time. It really doesn't. And then review it. Some people are obsessive and review it constantly, like every day or week. But I say even just like once a month, if you pull out that piece of paper and just look at it again, and be like, okay, what am I doing now? And what can I do? Break it down into simple, easy things. It's easy to get overwhelmed. But if you just break it down into, I just need to just do X today, you know, and that's going to vary from person to person. But yeah, just have that goal defined in your mind and written down, and then make it so it's something you can track on a daily or weekly basis, and find accountability too. There's a lot of people here in this one rental at a time community that are happy to work together to be accountable to one another. That's really critical, because if you have somebody, if you know you're going to have a call on Wednesday at 3, for example, and Mike is going to ask me like, well, what did you do this week to get XYZ that we talked about done? And I know I need to have something to say. That's going to make me more motivated to get it done and less likely to procrastinate.
Accountability partners are awesome. Get your network. If you're in our community, just post in Facebook. You have a lot of amazing folks that'll step in and say, yes, I'm sure. Beth, you talked about a bonus one for business owners.
I've got a bonus one for business owners because I'm a business owner and I'm doing it this week. My CPA reminded me that now is the time to potentially pay forward your expenses for next year. This year, if you want to write it off in 2023. It depends on what your tax situation is for each year, which one makes the most sense. But if you have income that you don't want to pay taxes on, as much tax on in 2023, you can front load your expenses. So for example, I have things that I pay for every month regardless. Like I'm going to have photography that I pay for every month. And so I just paid a bunch of that in advance so that I get to write that off this year. I send out a lot of mailers. And so I just paid some of that in advance. And some of them are offering bonuses right now. We'll give you 10% extra free if you place your, advance order before the end of the year, those kind of things. So think about that. For some people, it means buying a vehicle. That can be a danger zone, but just know that like you can get write-offs for that. Again, check with your CPA, but now is the time to maybe front load some of those things to make your tax burden smaller once, now we're going to be moving into tax season as we go into next year.
It's coming whether we like it or not.
I know. So, but there's a few things you can do to make it better. So now's the time before the end of the year to get that like receipt dated in 2023. So
I love it. Beth, you're amazing. Thank you for being a part of the channel all year for several years now. If somebody wanted to buy or sell in King County, of course, you're the only answer. But what people don't realize is you give referrals to other top agents across the country. How can people ask for such a referral?
Thank you. Yes, I can be easily found at BethTraversogroup.com or Google my name. You'll find me on Facebook, Instagram, etc. And feel free to reach out. And I love connecting with people from the One Rental at a Time community, a great bunch of folks. So thank you for having me on.
Thank you, Beth. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, New Year's, all that stuff. Thanks.